So this week we get mugged off by some glue. We also get given the runaround by some linseed oil in a bottle designed to keep young children out. Kind of tells you all you need to know. As with every other repair, we come in and we put the bat in the vise, and we had to head straight for the heat gun to start removing the stickers, start removing the scuff sheet, and just check what any damage we've got underneath that scuff sheet there. Bat wasn't quite tight enough in the vise, so I had to do some fiddling around and moving around just to get it right. But come back in and start moving and taking off all that edge tape, all the scuff sheet, just removing it all, just so you can have a look at the damage that's underneath, if there is any. Sometimes there isn't, but a lot of the time there is. Again, as mentioned before, really important to use heat when you're taking off scuff sheets, taking off edge tape, otherwise you start dragging a lot of the willow up with it as well. Committing another sin here. I mentioned in the previous video that you shouldn't go down or up the grain, but again with some scuff sheet you really haven't got much choice to get underneath it and to get it off, so did have to come in and get rid of it coming down the grain. But again, make sure if you are doing this at home just to go across the grain instead. So when we took the scuff sheet off, it wasn't apparent before, but there was a little bit of a toe crack down the bottom here. It wasn't too apparent before we took the scuff sheet off, but once we took it off, it was very, very apparent that this needed some seeing to. So just come in again with the PVA glue, get it as much as I can underneath there, tighten it up, clamp it up overnight to give it the best possible chance of holding tomorrow. The tape that we use isn't any special tape either here, it's just some parcel tape that you get for wrapping parcels. Just buy it from your local post office, even though they do sell it in your sort of B&Qs and stuff in your hardware stores. But it's just some bulk standard parcel tape. I mean, some people do use edge tape. I've seen other repairers use edge tape, but it seems like a bit of a waste because edge tape is obviously quite expensive. So pop some parcel tape over there, it does a sufficient job. So there was another edge crack as well that I didn't see originally when I clamped up. That's why the clamps were on there before I've put this other glue in there. And normally we like to do it all at the same time, but I thought this probably could have been done with super glue, but after a little bit of a further and closer inspection, I realised that it wasn't quite going to do the job with super glue, so I came in with the PVA glue for that one as well. And pop that handle top on there. Handle tops are really useful as well for this sort of stuff. Can't always get clamps in there, and with it being heavily clamped up down the bottom as well, it's not always the easiest. So these handle tops can be really useful, especially for those smaller cracks. If you're doing it on big cracks, I wouldn't recommend it. It's probably just not heavy enough, doesn't bear enough weight through the crack to join it together. But with these smaller ones, like your surface cracks and stuff, handle tops are perfect. Just the right amount of weight that you need just to seal those cracks off. I mean, you probably could clamp them up, but you don't need to for these small edge cracks and face cracks. The big ones you do need clamping up, but the smaller ones not so necessary. So once you're giving it 24 hours to dry, being clamped up, come back and remove all the stuff that's on there. Cut away the tape, take off all the bits of wood that you've used to make sure that the clamps are in contact with the willow. Again, when cutting your tape off, make sure not to cut too deeply, otherwise you'll damage the willow underneath. Just score that tape. So whether you take the stickers off before, after, during, whatever, clamp up, it doesn't really matter too much. Would advise taking these stickers off that are in the damaged area. Just makes your life a little bit easier afterwards when you come back to do it, but it's not necessary. It's quite nice actually to work on a grey nicks. We don't often get many grey nicks in, being sort of Midlands based. It's a lot of GMs that we get in of the big brands. Obviously we get with smaller brands as well, but it was nice to work on a grey nicks for a change. When you change things up a bit, the stickers are sometimes, you don't really know what to expect with the stickers, how easy they are to come off, etc. So There's lots of sticky residue underneath. Just come in and scrape all that off with the heat, with the scraper, with a draw knife, whatever's suitable really. But yeah, it was interesting to work on a grey Nix. Like I say, we don't really often get many grey Nix in, so it was interesting to, I mean, it's just a cricket bat at the end of the day, they're all the same, but it's just interesting to get one in. As we spoke about last time as well with the Stamford, these engraved into the side of them. There was one on the other edge as well that you might have seen a minute ago. Good actually to notice that these are actually genuine bats, first of all. But second of all, we mentioned last time that it's a very subcontinent thing, but only Grey Nix seem to do it in the UK. Well, here we are. Here's Grey Nix, and an example of one that we've got in. Some of the brands do it on sort of higher range bats, so the MRFs and stuff, you'll get them on the higher range bats than the higher price bats, but then they'll put a sticker on the lower range bats. But it's quite useful to look out for, especially with the higher range bats, because if it's engraved and not just stuck on, then you know it probably is a better blade. But again, Grey Nix do it in the UK, so if you're buying a Grey Nix, just make sure it's engraved. I never really know how to paste these sanding bits as well, because they are quite boring to watch, but they're sort of the biggest part of the whole repair job. I never know really whether to speed them up, show them less, show them more. So if you've got any suggestions, let me know. There was also a massive indentation on the side of one of the edges, which I wasn't really too sure how to go about repairing. I wanted to get it out, but it was probably too deep for the sander. We attacked it with the sander anyway, just to see how it came up afterwards, and it came up okay. It doesn't look fantastic, but it's not deep enough to fill with glue, and it was a little bit too deep to properly get in the sand, so it came up alright in the end. So after we finished with the rust sanding, come in with the finer grit sandpaper. We finished with the 240 and then come on to the hand sanding with a 400 grit at the end. Although again, I can never seem to get in the right frame for these hand sanding bits. So popped it back in the vise just to start sanding down those shoulders. Not really something that you should do with a big sander. Be very careful of the binding when you're doing this as well. So I decided to remove the grip at this stage like a normal person would. Never seems to be consistent when I remove the grip. It often depends if the customer wants it back or not and how damaged it is. But then we come over to the polishing wheel. I'm not really sure. I think it's beeswax, the polish. I'm not 100% sure it was passed on to me, but just gives the bats a nice shine. Then come in and pop the grip on. Again, committing a bit of a cardinal sin here as well. In the last video I mentioned don't put your grips back in the vise, but because we're not working on the bat, we don't have to put the grip back in the vise so tightly, so it doesn't matter all that much. But as I mentioned at the start of the video, we'd end up having a scrap with the linseed oil, so I had to poke a hole in it with those scissors. And I had to find another bottle for the linseed oil to go in now, because I didn't want to waste it. But it was bizarre, just could not get seam to get the cap off. But I suppose it's designed for children and to keep children out, so I suppose that says all you need to know about me, really. Every time I put a scuff sheet on when it's not filmed, I seem to put it on perfectly lined up, so it's perfectly equal each side, etc, etc. But every time I seem to do one on film on YouTube, TikTok, etc, it always seems to go wrong. in the end it came out really nicely. That looked pretty good. The indentation came out quite well as well, just from sanding. Didn't want to mess with it too much. I didn't want to start filling it with glue, sawdust, etc. I didn't really think that was necessary. It wasn't that deep, but you can still see where it was. But in the end it came out really nicely. I didn't actually realise it was a harrow until I took that sticker off as well, but it's a really nice bat and should see the customer well. So thanks again for watching. Again, if you need any tip, reach out TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, on here, wherever, and we'll help you out. Or if you need your bat repairing, send us a message or visit the website and we'll do what we can for you.